Welcome to Whispers on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog. It's 8:08 p.m. here in downtown Wheeling. Give us a call, 304-214-1600, toll free, 866-514-1600. It is 71 degrees, and I'm doing that without reading Lola's little meter.
Actually, that says 70, so that's pretty close.
Oh, yeah.
Mine says 66, so let's just split the difference.
It's about 68.
It's cold out there.
I said it's cold all day. Jordan keeps looking at me like I'm an idiot.
I think it was pretty, but there was a little chill in the air.
There was.
It's time to get the sweatshirts out.
We have a special caller here tonight. He is professor at Cambridge University, written many bestseller books, is thought to be the smartest person in the world, Professor Stephen Hawking. Professor Hawking, are you there? Hello?
Hello, Jordan. I am happy to be here.
Well, trust me, we're really glad to have you here. How are you today?
I am well. I would like to comment on the Large Hadron Collider you were discussing last week.
Well, I'm really excited, one, that you listened to the show, and two, that you would call in. Yeah, what would you like to talk to us about?
Are you an idiot? My wheelchair receives all earthly transmissions and your show is one of many. I said I wish to discuss the Large Hadron Collider.
Nick and I were talking about this, and I don't know, I was thinking that the black holes are going to, like, suck up the Earth and kill a bunch of people, and you are like you wrote the book on black holes, so what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
You are wasting my time. The Earth is doomed. I have invented a giant spaceship to escape. Super geniuses, women and children first. I am calling for Lola to come and join me.
You're really not leaving us much hope then, are you? Can Nick and I come too?
I said super geniuses, not super morons.
That stings a bit. Can you at least tell us how the black hole thing? How's that all going to work?
Big boom.
Do you mean it's going to explode?
Of course it will explode. It will cause the deaths of everyone on Earth, destroy society as we know it, and cause a new black hole. I will be safe on my spaceship with Lola and many other women, and, of course, the children. Ha ha ha, Jordan, you lose.
Man, I just got one up by Stephen Hawking. Well, Professor Hawking, thank you very much for calling in. Hopefully you continue to listen, I guess, until doomsday comes. Feel free to call back anytime you'd like, and we'll talk again. Thank you.
You are welcome, Jordan. Word to your mother, Nick. Lola, I will pick you up tonight. Hawking, out.
Stephen Hawking, everybody.
He's going to save my life.
Who wouldn't?
Aw, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen, for calling me a moron. You hear that?
How did you ever get that?
Email is a wonderful thing.
Did you use like a fake address, like Harvard or Yale or MIT or something?
No, well, because of his voice thing, we had to pre-record it.
Yeah, I understand, and that's why I didn't openly flirt with him. Although I already have a seat, so you should have flirted with him.
You might have a place on the ship if you talked a little more, you know.
Slept my way to the top.
Wow. No, is that a slam on poor Clay?
I never saw that coming.
I was so caught by surprise when he came out of, Clay Aiken, gay? No. Oh, man. Oh, man.
Oh, man, indeed. What else? Lola, she loses it on here a lot. I think it's the, I don't know. I have no idea. It's the air. She's been here all day. She's been here since
that's my problem.
10 o'clock in the morning. And
about 9:30 I get here.
So what time do you get giddy?
About 2. I've been done for a long time here.
All right, I want to bring something up real quick. I talked to a buddy of mine, Eugene, who I work with. He said, we were talking about Bigfoot. Something that he said was that bears Because everybody always says that, the Bigfoot, you can't, you won't find their remains after they pass away. He said it's just like bears. He said he's done a lot of studying on bears, and you don't find the bear remains unless, they're shot by a hunter or something like that.
Sure.
Other than that, you don't see them.
I'm wondering, your dad hunts a lot. We should ask him, and I don't know why we never did. Are there a lot of deer remains? Because he goes out in the woods, even without hunting season, just looking around. He loves to be out in the woods.
I've seen deer remains. I know there's deer remains.
But didn't he say he had something to do with the acid in the ground?
Now, see, I brought that up to Eugene, too, and he said there's no way. He said that's ridiculous.
But what would cause what would cause the bears to go away? Maybe not acidity.
Maybe their bones are made of. Maybe it's cartilage, like sharks. I don't. It's a strange.
Wait.
No. All right, let's leave the dead. Did all this start because of the roadkill story? Well, I don't know. There's no remains left of that bear.
Oh, the roadkill. Yeah, I remember that now. That might actually have been somebody related to my wife.
Remember, you have to go home tonight.
Yeah. Oh no! I yelled up. I'm like, I have somebody named. And
see, this is him digging out.
Yeah, that's what he sounds like. He stumbles. He's like, "But honey, listen."
Hey Jordan, can I?
All right, we have Susan Shepard is joining us now.
All right, Susan, you with us?
Oh, wait a minute.
Do we have her on the line?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Hi, Susan.
Hello.
Susan Shepard is the director. What's your tour called, ma'am?
Haunted Parkersburg Ghost Tours.
And you're ranked one of the top 10.
Yeah, we are ranked number 10 most popular ghost tour in the nation.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Yes, it is.
And we start this weekend.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, you go to Blennerhassett Island. For some reason, that just popped in my head.
No, actually, we don't go over on the island.
Don't go on the island? Okay.
No, we do not. It's a downtown haunted historical walk. We cover all the strange and paranormal tales from Parkersburg, which includes many famous stories like the one of Indrid Cold. Don't know if you remember that from the Mothman Prophecies movie.
I know that
one. But the Indrid Cold actually happened in Parkersburg. It did not happen in Point Pleasant. We've got the Banshee of Mar Town, Banshee spirits, very unique.
Can you explain what a banshee is real quick?
A banshee is an Irish-Scottish death fairy who keens and cries upon the death of certain members of Irish and Scottish clans. And there's only 3 banshee stories in the United States. Of course, it originates in the British Isles. And actually, West Virginia has 2 of those stories. And those are covered in my book, Cry of the Banshee. But we visit haunted graveyards, haunted houses, haunted businesses. So it's a very enjoyable thing, especially for ghost hunters and paranormal enthusiasts, because a lot of times they'll bring their cameras and equipment and actually get some things in their pictures and cameras and recorders. So we take this very seriously. These are not just tales of hauntings, but tales of the paranormal, such as the Mothman and Indrid Cold and UFOs and spirits and graveyards and everything that seems to be popular this time of year.
Now, when does it? What time of day does it start?
We start this Friday night. It's every Friday and Saturday night, starting this weekend at the Blennerhassett Hotel in downtown Parkersburg at 7:30 in the evening. The Blennerhassett is haunted. It has a number of ghosts and spirits right there in the hotel, and we're going through until November 1st. So it's every Friday and Saturday night from now on until November 1st.
Now, how much is the cost to get in?
The cost for adults is $10 a person. Senior citizens and students are $7. Children 13 and under are $5.
And how long through the night does this last? Does it last all night, or?
It's about, some nights as we get closer to Halloween, it gets a little bit longer, but generally the walk is a leisurely 2-hour walk in downtown Parkersburg up into the historical district where we see actual haunted houses.
All right, and what's the phone number that people can get a hold of you with?
Okay, our phone number is area code 304-428-7978, and they can also see our website that is hauntedparkersburg.com, and it gives you all the information on the ghost tours.
All right. Well, Susan Shepard, thank you very much for calling us, and we're actually going to have you back as a guest.
Yes.
When is that?
November 26th.
November 26th. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Now, it's actually kind of freaky, the whole Banshee thing, because, like, I have Scottish and Irish blood, so it's...
So if I hear something yelling...
The plague in my clan!
Well, they really believe in banshees.
Oh, yeah.
Over in Ireland.
There's some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Can we go ahead and take a real quick break, and then we can get our tonight's guest on the phone, on the line. We'll be right back on Whispers Radio.
I'm just having a heart. This thing is like, it's haunted.
AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog.
Attention kids of all ages from 1 to 101. Want to see Darth Vader and R2-D2? What about Spider-Man? Or how about a pirate that's traveled the 7 seas, or a NASA-trained and certified astronaut? Kobe Bryant and Dirk Nowinski are there too. And where can you see all this and more? At the Toy and Plastic Brick Museum on Noble Street in the all-American town of Blair, Ohio. Dan Brown and the folks at the Toy and Plastic Brick Museum are now listed in the Guinness Book of World Records, last year for the largest Lego image ever, and this year for the world's largest castle made entirely of Lego building blocks. Located at 4597 Noble Street in Blair, Ohio, in the old Gravel Hill School, the museum is open Wednesday through Sunday from 12 to 5 p.m. and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And there's Entertainment Daily, a band made entirely of Lego blocks, the Lego 3, perform for everyone. School groups and kids clubs want to take a road trip? Give them a call at 740-671-8890 for group rates. So, for 36,000 square feet of Lego fun, head over to the all-American town of Blair, Ohio, and visit the Toy and Plastic Brick Museum at 4597 Noble Street. Oh, and while you're there, don't forget the new space room's open now, too.
Copyrighted images created under license by Lego Group.
Welcome back to Whispers on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog. It is 8:23 p.m. here in downtown Wheeling. I'm Jordan Klein here with Nick Queen, the wonderful and lovely Lola Miller behind the booth.
And the safe Lola Miller now.
Yeah, Stephen Hawking is going to save her, apparently.
That's
right. Check out our website, www.whispersradio.com. Shoot us an email, whispers1600@gmail.com. And give us a phone call. 304-214-1600, toll free, 866-514-1600.
Absolutely.
Woo!
Good job, Jordan.
Got through them.
I did. Right. Whispers is also brought to you by the Toy and Plastic Brick Museum in Bel Air, Ohio.
The all-American town of
Blair, Ohio. Blair, Ohio.
Okay, now we have Dan Gordon is joining us.
Dan Gordon is he first experienced the magic of Fenway in the summer of 1975 when his father took him to his first game. With the Thomas J. Watson Fellowship, Gordon studied global baseball culture in Japan, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, and Nicaragua. His writings in baseball have appeared in the Providence Journal, Fort Worth Star, San Juan Star, 9, the Elysian Fields Quarterly, and Scribner's Encyclopedia of America. Lives. He also contributed 2 chapters of an edited book of global baseball Without Borders. Dan, are you with us? Dan, are you here?
Yes, hello.
All right, there we go. Hi, Dan, how we doing?
Great, how are you?
Oh, wonderful. Just wonderful.
I got a quick question before we even get started on this. You're a Boston Red Sox fan, correct?
Sure.
Okay, now the co-author of this book with you was Mickey Bradley. Named after Mickey Mantle, and I'm assuming he's going to be a Yankees fan.
That's right, yeah.
How did that work exactly?
It was a bumpy ride at times. But Mickey and I went to college together, and back in the late 80s, there wasn't, we went to Union College in Schenectady, New York, and there wasn't really a rivalry the rivalry was kind of quiet at that time because the Yankees weren't doing well, so Mickey wasn't really talking much about the Yankees. So I guess that allowed the friendship to start. And I think we both, really appreciate, baseball history and, come at it from a different perspective. But, able to bring, I think it both bring our perspectives into the book. I mean, of course, the book is about baseball all across the country and even internationally, but certainly the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry has its share of ghost stories and supernatural stories, too.
So what exactly would be your favorite? And I know you said Green Fenway, of course, the Green Monster and everything like that. What's your favorite ghost story about Boston?
My favorite is actually kind of a really, kind of a moving story about a former PA announcer, Sherm Feller, who was in the booth for 25 years, and he mentored a radio personality, Carl Bean, and Carl Bean ended up, after Sherm Feller passed on in around 1991, Carl Bean eventually took over, and he's been kind of the voice, and he leaves a seat out for Sherm Feller, but he also thinks, kind of a tribute, but he also thinks that Feller's in the PA booth with him and talks about the headsets flying off the desk, about, really strange things happening all of a sudden to the equipment. Seems like, kind of Sherm Feller's sense of humor, and also just, things, announcements going missing that were, right there on a desk, that kind of thing. And, he's convinced that Feller's there. But we just got a lot of strange stories from up there in that press box area of people hearing doors opening and closing late at night, and also on the ball field itself and in the ballpark.
Now, which ballpark would you say is the most haunted? Has the most ghost stories in it?
According to players, it would be Yankee Stadium. But as far as actual sightings or actual, something visceral, it would have to be Dodger Stadium in L.A. Just a lot of folks there who work there talk about seeing someone walking across the ball field late at night, kind of a white, misty figure kind of making its way from the dugout from the bullpen towards the dugout. Mm. And also just a lot, hearing footsteps up in the top deck there, people getting their shoulders tacked. A lot of the cleaning workers won't work by themselves. Some of the merchandise people down who work in the vaults talk about hearing their voice called out or hearing whispers, or walking into one of the old rooms that store old Dodgers memorabilia, even back from the Brooklyn days, and seeing that strewn all over the floor, really, not knowing why that happened. That sort of thing, very common in that ballpark, and talk to dozens of workers who talk about it.
Dan, this is Lola. With Yankee Stadium now due to be torn down, have you heard of even more stories this past season? Because, let's face it, they're going to be out of a home.
I think that, I haven't heard many more stories, although there were some, wacky things that went on this year with construction workers burying jerseys and trying to put curses on. Jason Giambi wearing, ladies' underwear to a good buck. But in terms of actual ghosts, I mean, the stories have been out there for many years, and players, we interviewed players who played back in the 70s. Guys like Dave Winfield and Ricky Henderson from the 80s, and a lot of current stars that talk about the ghost, and not just guys on the Yankees, but visiting guys. And I think this year it's become a little bit more public because they're getting asked about it a lot now. But it's always been, something that players talk about. They players truly believe that, the ghosts are there, the ghost of Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle. They talk about, late in the game sometimes that the temperature will suddenly drop and the wind might pick up, if you'll gust of wind, and all of a sudden something really bizarre happens or in favor of the Yankees. Derek Jeter says that if the ghost push the ball, give the ball an extra push and it will travel over the fence. Alex Rodriguez said that Yankee Stadium the ghost gave the Yankees the best home field advantage in all of baseball. actually all the sports, I think you said. Just guys talking about walking through the batting cages and hearing someone taking cuts when no one's there. Players talking about hearing noises in the clubhouse, that kind of thing. And visiting guys have always, when they on the team bus, they talk about it. They say, like, I hope the ghosts don't come out tonight. And, some of it's tongue-in-cheek and, figurative, and the idea that, there's so much history there in Yankee Stadium, but some of it's, a real fear that, the ghosts are there.
That was on my list of things to do this year. I really wanted to get to New York and go to Yankee Stadium before they tore it down, because I firmly believe in this kind of stuff. And I have been in other places, like Tiger Stadium. Oh, sure. And if you let yourself go, you can feel this energy that has to be from, the energy that these guys left there.
Yeah, I mean, even the players that don't talk about the ghosts, and fans too, they're always talking about it. Guys talk about walking through the tunnels, and then the hair in the back of their neck stands up, and they're thinking about the guys that have walked through those tunnels, from the clubhouse to the dugout. Just hearing the voice of they're announced over the PA, by Bob Shepard or now his predecessor, or his, the president who followed the writer, but I can't remember the word.
Okay.
But anyway, it's very common experience. Yeah.
Now, one of your chapters in the book that I really enjoyed was about the otherworldly World Series, as you called the chapter. And it was talked about after 9/11. 2001 World Series, sure. And the flag that was found at Ground Zero was flown over Yankee Stadium. Can you tell everybody about that? Because that was one of the best things I read in here, and it was just kind of touching, especially right after 9/11. So,
yeah, that was a really amazing chapter to research. I mean, we talked to a lot of fans who were at those games, but also a lot of the players. The Yankees played the Diamondbacks, and obviously, as everyone recalls, that it was just baseball after September 11th. I mean, once it resumed, it was kind of something that was symbolic of America getting back on its feet, and everybody kind of sensed that we could be not we can't if we get knocked down, we're going to stand back up and resume our way. And the players were really nervous when they first took the field. They didn't know whether to have fun and just play the game or to be more stoic. But in the end, they just kind of wanted to resume the game and let it be what it is. But a lot of the people who were there at those initial games and also during the World Series, kind of thought that the spirits of some of the people who died in the trade towers were there at those games. They talked about, just some of the strange comebacks that the Yankees had. The Yankees had two amazing comebacks, I believe in Game 5 and Game 6, in bottom of the ninth inning, home runs, and then going on to win in extra innings. And but also just some of the, just the feeling that those spirits were there, and guys talked about it, and they even thought it was carried over when they went to, the finals. Games 6 and 7 were played in Phoenix with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and Game 7, a lot of the players on the Diamondbacks felt like in the bottom of the 8th inning, all of a sudden there was drizzle, and at that time of the year it very rarely rains, and the wind started swirling, and then the Diamondbacks started to rally, and of course in the bottom of the ninth they got that got a blooper single to win it, and beat one of the best closers in the game, Mariano Rivera, and it was just guys, a lot of guys just testify to this day, swear that there was something supernatural going on there.
Now, baseball players in themselves, they're really it's a very superstitious sport, right?
Right. Yeah.
Now, how much of this is just their superstitions going nuts, and how much of it do you think actually has some substance?
Yeah, it's kind of it's a mixture, and it's definitely hard to it's very blurry. But I think that definitely players are very superstitious, of course, because the game has so much failure in it, and there's so much. Even the most successful hitters are successful only 30%, some odd percent of the time. So they kind of always looking for something. The game's streaky, it's bizarre. No two games are alike, and weird plays happen all the time. So they're definitely kind of believing in the baseball gods and not stepping on the foul lines and whatnot. But some of the ghost stories that they tell are more visceral, more real things that they describe. Like actually like seeing somebody on the field or hearing some noises they might hear in the clubhouse. They got a lot of team hotel stories of hearing, seeing someone in their room, or and they do stay in a lot of really old historical hotels, in some of the cities where they, visiting team hotels, also even in the minors, and some of it could be. It's hard to say. I mean, like sometimes players are sentimental too. So when a teammate dies or somebody in the clubhouse dies that they're close with. For instance, in the Cleveland Indians had a trainer that passed on. They're kind of course, looking for anything that kind of resembles, like perhaps that he's looking over the team. They look for that, and there happened to be a bird that showed up in the ball field after their trainer for the Indians, Jimmy Warfield, passed away in 2002. And
so they really go and search for this kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean. Who knows? I mean, according to, we talked to dozens of players and front office folks, and they swear that this bird was there for 6 days and hanging really close to where Warfield sat, and also close to Jim Tomei, who was Warfield's best friend. And, and a lot of the big-name stars swear this, and even guys who aren't superstitious, Omar Vizquel and Milton Bradley, who, both say they're not superstitious at all.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, and they swear that when they held a memorial service 6 days after Warfield passed on, that the bird, took flight, circled the bases, and flew off into the night, and then wasn't seen again.
That just brought tears to my eyes.
Lola's tearing up.
I believe in this kind of stuff, and I believe in I was involved with a football team for several years, and I believe in the football gods. I think that there is something out there, and yeah, so this is not surprising me. We have a caller that has a question for you.
Sure.
Hi, Steve. You're on the air.
Hi, guys. Hi,
hey,
Jordan.
Steve.
Hi, Nick.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, by the way, Jordan, the only reason you've heard of the name Milton Bradley is because they make Monopoly.
Games.
That's what I was thinking.
I wasn't gonna say that.
I was like, wait, that sounds really familiar.
Yeah, they make games. No, it's a pleasure to be on the show. I wanted to ask your guest a question. A lot of the stories, of course, come from some of the more historic ballparks, like a Fenway or a Yankee Stadium or Old Tiger Stadium. And I've not heard a whole lot about some of the cookie-cutter stadiums, like Three Rivers Stadium. I was a Pirate fan. I got an opportunity to actually have an office at Three Rivers Stadium, and a lot of people there worked there almost the entire life of that stadium, and they truly believe Roberto Clemente's ghost haunts right field because he didn't get to play there much. Do you know anything about that?
No, that's the first I've heard of that. But it doesn't surprise me because definitely he was such a huge part of the Pirates, in the Pirates' history. But so a lot of of your coworkers there thought that, or
not just the coworkers, the people that actually worked the stadium and tried to keep that piece of crap together for the 30 years that they used it. But you know the story of Roberto Clemente, of course, the first Dominican Hall of Famer, played almost his entire career, except for a couple of years, in Forbes Field. And he always moaned and groaned and complained about the size of Forbes Field and how many home runs he would have and all that other stuff. And they believe that he haunts right field because he only got 2 years in that ballpark.
We actually have we're working on a chapter for book 2 about how he's haunting Pirate City, where he trained all those years, and even though he didn't have to live there because only rookies were supposed to live there during spring training. All the veterans stayed in hotels, but he wanted to keep working with the younger guys, and he was quite a presence there. And a lot of people there now claim to see him, and but it's the first I've heard of Three Rivers. But it wouldn't surprise me because we keep hearing more stories all the time. The more we talk to people and hear from fans and from players, the more stories we're hearing.
Now, you talk about Roberto Clemente in the book. He had a premonition of how he would die. Is that correct?
Sure. Yeah. That's something that's well documented. The family has talked about it. When he used to talk, and we even interviewed some of his former teammates that talked about some of his premonitions. He used to always talk about how he was going to die young and just how terrified he was of planes, and that he wouldn't sleep on them sleep on planes, and would always stay awake, and claimed that one time that he did fall asleep, but he had a nightmare about crashing, and used to tell his teammates even that he was afraid of old planes. And ultimately, for listeners who don't know, he died in 1972 of a plane crash.
I was about to ask.
Yeah, he was going to try to fly relief supplies from Puerto Rico, his native Puerto Rico, to Nicaragua, which was ravaged by an earthquake, and he was going there to personally oversee to make sure that the goods weren't stolen.
Oh, wow.
They waited 16 hours for that plane to be cleared mechanically.
Right, yeah.
And then it was in flight 19 seconds before it fell into the ocean.
Yeah, it's horrific, yeah.
Okay, now what do you know about the Bonds curse? Because this team sucks.
Yeah, Bonds, it could be. I mean, I think, it seemed to me more of a curse of letting, players go before they're at their peak, but,
let it all out. You're speaking in the home city of the owners of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Let it out.
I'm sorry?
You're speaking in the hometown of the owners of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I know, yeah.
So let them know what they're doing wrong. Because Lord knows Lola has tried for years. Lola, do you realize that Hawking's going to take you with nothing but a bunch of women? I mean, what in the heck are you going to do?
There's going to be kids. I mean,
oh, thanks.
They're going to grow.
That was just not right. That was it. Dan, Stephen Hawking called us earlier today, and he says that because of that, what's it called, the hadron?
The Large Hadron.
Yes, that a black hole is going to appear and the Earth is going to, just poof away. But he's building a spacecraft and he is taking me with him. So these guys are just mad because I'm getting saved by Stephen Hawking.
No, her and several other women.
Yeah, well...
and children.
Well, let's hope they're cute. I don't know. And please, don't let it be Cloris Leachman. That's all I can say.
I mean, come on.
Okay.
Back to Dan.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, Steve. Johnny Damon, Dan, mentioned a bunch of different things about him in there, and he was somebody that really believes in the ghost phenomenon.
Well, you said that he had a close encounter, right?
Yes.
Damon, he just no, he may have. He never told us that, but he did say that he had a ghost sit on him in his house in Orlando and had him pinned down for 15 minutes on his couch. He's kind of one of the huge believers in the game, as you mentioned, and talks about the ghost of Yankee Stadium and ghost of Fenway Park, and but he also thought, that that one afternoon while he was just resting on his, and he claims it wasn't a paralysis dream, that he was wide awake and he was talking to the ghost and he was trying to say, okay, get off me. Then finally he said, okay, I surrender, you win, and then he claims that the ghost got off him. He's convinced. He's definitely one of the colorful characters of the game, so, it's easy to kind of think that, maybe he's making this up. But we talked to him on several occasions, and, he's very serious about it.
Well, if I had a ghosty sit on me, I'd be serious about it, too. I keep waiting for some kind of ghostly encounter, and they just seem to I never had one. What surprised you the most when you were looking into all this stuff?
I think just how many players actually have stories, because when we started out on this project, just some background. I was, I'm been an avid, baseball fan, obviously, my whole life, and been writing on baseball. And I started writing on ghost stories on Cape Cod, and I wrote a book, Cape Encounters, and a little cheap plug for it.
That's okay. You can say it again.
Plug away.
But I just started wondering whether there were these stories, ghost stories in ballparks. I'd never heard of it. I'm kind of someone that always, reads everything on baseball. And, I teamed up with Mickey, and we just started putting out queries to the baseball historians on the listservs, through Society of American Baseball Research. We went to the Baseball Hall of Fame and talked with all the historians and archivists there, and there was just about nothing. And we did a lot of searches of search engines of newspapers and whatnot, and there was just nothing. And we just started to go into. We decided the only way to do this was to go into the clubhouse and actually talk to the players, and ended up talking to over 800 players, and it was just amazing how many players do have stories. It seemed like 1 out of every 4 or 5 players has a first-hand story, and the others all know of the other stories, and so I guess it surprised us just that so many stories are there and it hadn't been written about before, and that players are very open about it, and they weren't ashamed or embarrassed or kind of like, usually they don't like to talk about each other. What goes on in the clubhouse stays in the clubhouse. But for this, they were just like, oh yeah, talk to Damon, talk to Jeter. He'll tell you.
Wow.
And we were just it was just really easy.
Now the Tropicana Dome in St. Petersburg.
Sure. Yeah.
What was it really built over a cemetery?
Actually, built over 3 cemeteries. The Moffett, the Evergreen, and the Oaklawn Cemetery. And,
wow.
It was built over in the area of a former neighborhood called the gas plant. Apparently there was a gas plant there at one time, but it was just kind of a...
Clever naming.
Yeah. It was a kind of a poorer area, and 2 of the cemeteries were moved when the city bought the land initially for public housing. But one, the Oaklawn Cemetery, there's evidence that it wasn't all moved, and when they built I-275, the highway that goes through St. Petersburg, they uncovered some bodies, and during construction of the ballpark, there was just a lot of controversy and over whether they should be just building or not trying to find these bodies first. And at one point, one of the city foremen said, "Don't worry, we're not digging in the parking lot area. We're just paving over."
So did they dig up any bodies, or did they just not even bother looking and build over top of it?
Yeah, they just built over the top of it, and it's, who knows? There's nothing in. We haven't heard of any bodies found, but who knows?
All right, Dan, hold on just a second. We got another phone call.
Yeah, this is Garrick.
Hi, Garrick.
Hey, Jordan. How you guys doing tonight?
Garrick. Oh, good to hear your voice. I haven't heard you in a few weeks.
I had a question. I was wanting to know, did he ever have anybody say about any old baseball players like Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth?
Dan?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Garrick. Actually, we got a lot of stories about Babe Ruth, especially. Not only in like Yankee Stadium, but in a lot of places where he stayed, in hotels, and even in the former spring training site down in St. Pete. The Yankees trained there from 1921 to the 1960s, and people who are there now talk about seeing him walking across the field, or seeing him sitting in the dugout. They also see Casey Stengel, the legendary manager of the Yankees, and they claim that the former clubhouse is now a youth center called Tasco, and a lot of the workers in that building, experience things. And a couple of workers there who worked the night shift talked about hearing card games going on, and they thought it was the Yankees players playing cards.
Wow.
But we had a few other stories of former ball players, Buck Weaver, Shoeless Joe, of course, who was also in the movie Field of Dreams. So,
seemed like Babe Ruth. I mean, looking through your book, he seems like he's haunting all over the place.
Yeah,
and he must be the busiest ghost.
He likes baseball.
Yeah, he was a busy little guy when he was alive.
I don't think he was little.
Well, you know what I meant.
Well, have you guys heard anything about like Whitey Ford or anybody like that?
not more recent play. Yeah, not not Whitey. Is Whitey passed on? But
I will look that up right now.
Is Whitey dead? Whitey, give us a call.
Yeah, I think he'd be offended.
Whitey Ford is still alive.
Yeah, he was at.
You're kidding.
All right, Garrick. I'm
Born in
sorry, man.
1926. So
There's no hauntings from Whitey Ford.
Yeah, I actually thought I saw him the other
he's
day.
booked for Yankee Stadium.
The last game. But I guess there are sometimes that people see players and they don't know who they are. At Wrigley Field, Charlie Grimm, he was a legendary player and manager of the Cubs, and he's seen a lot by workers there late at night, and they also claim to hear him talking sometimes in the hallways, security guards especially, and they even think that they hear the bullpen phone ringing sometimes from the dugout, and they claim it's him. But his ashes were scattered in left field, and a lot of players have had, and of course a lot of fans have had ashes sprinkled in the ballparks, and that kind of contributes to the whole feeling that perhaps they're still there.
Well, thanks for the call, Garrett.
Thank you now.
Thanks, Garrett.
Dan, do you believe in the, I know you were just doing research, but do you believe in ghosts or spirits that, these guys actually are hanging out around these fields and things?
I've never had a first-hand encounter, but I kind of, interviewing so many people and getting, similar testimony, even from people independently, it kind of makes me believe that there's something that that people are sensing, and I don't, I don't feel like an expert that I can explain what it is, but when you have several people, who experience the same thing, or hearing a thumping noise, or hearing footsteps, or getting tapped on the shoulder, and all independently, not knowing of the stories, it's a little bit, it definitely makes you scratch your head a little bit.
Yes.
But I think, Mickey and I tried to go at this very neutrally when we did the book, kind of more just recording what's out there, because, it's easy to, interject an, opinion, but we thought that what was most interesting to us was just how many stories there are, and just, kind of laying it out and let the reader kind of judge, and that's kind of the way we kind of recorded it.
All right, Dan, we got to wrap up. Where can our listeners find your book?
Oh, sure. We have a website, hauntedbaseball.com, and also books. It's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and bookstores everywhere.
Okay, now give another shameless plug for the other one.
Okay, yeah. The other book's Cape Encounters, Contemporary Cape Cod Ghost Stories, and that's also pretty much everywhere.
Sounds good.
We'll have to have you back on and maybe talk to you about those ghosts.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And we're going to link your books to their Amazon sites, right?
Already done on our website.
On our website, so that people can check out our website and find your books.
Great, yeah, thank you, I appreciate it.
Hey, Dan, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Oh, thanks.
And we'll have to talk again. Thank you.
Oh, sure.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Lola, I have some good news for you.
What?
All right, I'm sitting here getting an email from Stephen Hawking.
Uh-huh.
All right, it's been delayed. Okay.
Oh, okay.
The collider has been halted until next year. They have a magnet failure and will be shut off until spring of 2009. So you have some time to maybe, find some guests with you.
Yes.
We are going to be able to have our birthdays this year.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
We're worried.
Yes, good news all the way around.
With this whole baseball thing, baseball players are so superstitious, though.
All athletes are.
I mean,
they all are.
See, I know that there are, but baseball players are crazy. I hate to say that. Sorry if you play baseball, but I mean, how much of this? He said it kind of plays into it, but how much of this is just hearsay from each other, and how many of them are actually eyewitness accounts? And that's what bothers me. And he really didn't hit on that. You know,
I
he
don't
said
think he knows. To tell you the truth,
and
I
he
don't
just
think.
collected the stories. I think a lot of it tends to be, you know, you go into a place. I mean, you guys come here and you've told us. I think everybody in here has told us a story about
The ghost.
The ghost.
Mm-hmm.
You go into almost any place. You go to the prison. You know, and I think it adds something to, you know, the field. Like, you know, they're there. They're watching us. You know, the babe is still here. A lot of the stories you talked about were, you know, they helped us to win. In some
that
ways.
Just sounds like a superstition, you know.
It does, and you know, it's. He talked about the baseball gods, and I was reading a little bit of a snippet in the book about it, and I mean, it's, you know, you hear about the god of rock and roll or something like that. Well, I mean, they have this system, you know, that, you know, like he said, you don't walk on the foul lines, you know, and if you don't do certain things like hustle enough for a you know, a bunt or something like that, you know, the baseball gods will, you know, punish you for that. And
they will find wrath.
Yeah. But if you do your job right, they're going to help you.
That's right.
You know, and there's this system to it, and there's this, you know, it's just nostalgia, you know, that goes into the game. And I think it adds a lot to it. And it'd be interesting. I'd love to find somebody maybe out there that has written a book on the ghost of, you know, football. I'd like to hear it, you know.
See, and part of like the walking through the tunnels and they're feeling the hair stand up, like, I don't know, when I picture it in my head, you know, these guys are walking out to this huge stadium with all, you know, all these people cheering and screaming, you know, it's got to be some like hardcore electricity going through, you know, just pumping you up, and you know, you got to feel it, you know, whether it's superstition or they're feeling something,
like,
you know. I would.
It was like when we first walked in here, our first day of coming in the booth, and you know, we have this electricity going through us, and we're nervous, and you know, and you. I mean, I know it's not the same thing. You know, they're walking out, and
we see Lola shining.
I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of fans watching right then.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a huge number or not.
About
50, 60,000. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating, but millions.
No,
watching
but I know what
you
you're saying. That would be that would be exhilarating, intoxicating. But some of these things I'm sure had to have happened when there's just a few people there, when the place is quiet.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know. I can imagine, like you said, or one of you guys said, they loved the game.
Yeah.
And they simply, it's kind of like that, you know, Field of Dreams. Build it and they will come. And they did.
I cried during that movie, too.
How can you?
Shocker. I'm such a baby.
Never saw that one coming either. But I just, if you believe that there are spirits and ghosts just everywhere else, then absolutely these plays have to be there.
You know, there's a lot of emotion. And I think when we talked to Mark Nesbitt a couple weeks back, probably even more than that now.
Yeah.
These things all run together. There's emotion, you know, on the battlefield. There's emotion that, you know, that's just put out there, and the same thing here. You know, they go to battle, but you know, it's a fun, game, you know, everything. But there's a lot of emotion. There's hurts and anger and everything.
Who do we got next week, Nick?
Next week we have Patrick Heron from calling us from Ireland,
Dublin, Ireland.
Oh, that's right. You guys told me that.
Yeah, he's going to be talking to us about the Nephilim and the pyramids. So if nobody knows what the Nephilim is, Genesis 6, go get a Bible, look it up, and
well, there's a show on BBC all about the Nephilim.
I think it's
Sons
his
of
show,
Gods and the Daughter of Men.
Yeah.
It might be his show. I don't know.
All right, definitely tune in next week. That's all we got this week for Whispers Radio here on WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog. Until next week, friends, I leave you with this. Don't be afraid, only believe.